The second piece of information that I would say was most beneficial is nobody's coming to save you, especially if you are an entrepreneur that's just starting out. And that's huge for entrepreneurs to understand, because I think there's this weird notion that, oh, I know as the business owner, there's value. I know what I've created. I've put the time and effort and energy, and I've done the calls. I've sent the messages. Nobody cares. We're just like in love. Brothers and sisters out there, good for you. You put the time in, you put the effort in, you built the thing, did the relationships. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that's such an important lesson for them to learn, because nobody's coming to save you. There are people that care about you, but the thing, the widget that you have created, you have to go show the value. And that's not always a cut and dry process. Like, random things happen, and sometimes it's luck, and certain circumstances change, and it's you persevere, you push through, and you freaking make it happen. Like, that's the journey of an entrepreneur.
I agree. And I've been really pushing our team hard in all of our businesses. I think there is this expectation of we deserve a certain quality of life. And if I don't have it, it's somebody else's fault that I don't have it. It's inflation's fault. It's the economy's fault. It's politicians' fault. And I gave that same counsel to my team on Monday for 2026. I said, look, guys, you want the same exact life as you had 2025, do the same exact things.
Welcome to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, a podcast for purpose-led entrepreneurs looking to master the art of buying, selling, or optimizing small businesses. Your host, Chris Seegers, founder of Exceptional Companies and author of Selling Main Street, has over a decade of experience starting, buying, and leading successful businesses. He's here to guide you through the complex world of business transactions and growth. Each week, we dive deep with actionable insights, expert interviews, and real-world strategies to activate and equip you to live exceptionally and build exceptional businesses. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Here's your host, Chris Seegers.
Welcome back to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, where we chat about how to buy, grow, and eventually sell your business to serve your personal and wealth goals. I'm joined by a really good friend and just an amazing human being, Mike McLain. Mike is the co-founder of Limitless Consulting, and we're going to chat a little bit about building a successful business while fighting kind of legacy mindsets or maybe industry mindsets, but really wanted to bring Mike on because he's a great business leader. He's really passionate about culture, living life full out, and he's similar to us in that he wants to use his platform as a way to expand God's kingdom. So, Mike, welcome to the show, brother.
Amen, man. And Chris, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely, man. I know there's going to be some great things that come out of it. So, man, let's start with the story. Tell us how kind of, your background, where you came from, how you got into the space that you did, why you launched Limitless, and then we'll just take it from there.
Yeah, a little bit of a non-conventional path. Did 15 years in the military, so I was a healthcare administrator. Graduated from just up the road at the Air Force Academy. So, my background, master's degrees, experience is all in running healthcare operations at anywhere from a small outpatient facility all the way to complex inpatient facilities. I actually had my dream job 15 years in. I just promoted to lieutenant colonel. I was the deputy COO up at the Air Force Academy's med group, and felt a pull as a follower of Christ to separate into what I didn't know. And so did a stint in full-time.
Can I pause you there, Mike?
Yeah, please.
I think this is important, and I always love to ask this question, as a believer, what did that pull look like? Because it's so different for everyone else. Just
the fact that you're asking that question, Chris, I love it, because I think as the capital C church, we often don't dive deep enough, right? If we're talking about a relationship, well, what does that look like? Like practically, how do I put my fingers on that and feel it? To be as forthright as I can be, it was everything should be perfect and everything should feel amazing. And I feel this growing unrest. I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, what I was made to do. There's something out there, and I don't know what it is, that I was built for. And it's just this feeling that I had that was growing and building year after year. And my wife and I wrestled with it for a year because, 5 years shy of a military retirement as hopefully what would have been a '06 colonel, that's a lot to walk away from for 5 years. And so we were sure of the calling. And man, am I glad. I'm so thankful that we took that step because the impact and really just the clients that we serve, that we're helping, the funds that are going to Kingdom Resources, it is unlike anything I ever would have experienced if I stayed in, played it safe. I'm just very happy that I was faithful in that calling.
I love it. So I want to keep going with the story, but I have another question that just popped into my head. So
please,
we've been talking a lot about mental health, especially in Southern Colorado, and it's a big issue. Do you think, and this just came into my head, but do you think that part of our mental health crisis is the divergence of what God has called us to be, right? We call it the exceptional life. Like we've got these unique giftings, and all of us, I think, are created equal to be creators and do huge things in life. Do you think some of the mental health maybe is people have felt that calling and have said no and have said, I'm not going to put that creativity and take that risk and do those chances, and then they're living kind of without congruence of where maybe they should be?
I think all unsettledness is rooted in not understanding our identity, built in the image of God. And I think relationally, so externally, me looking at you, my brother, and by the way, I always love our conversations because we never talk about the weather. It's like, how can we transform the world? It's wonderful. I love it. I love talking to you. But, I think it transforms our relationships. I think it transforms communities, cultures, families. When I, Mike McLain, understand that my 3 children, so I have 3 kids, 7, 5, and 2. When I understand that they are built in God's image in a fallen, broken world, well, that's a general roadmap for me as a father to understand. Oh, they don't know their nature. They don't know what they were designed to be, what they were created for. I take it all the way from being a father and parenting my children all the way up to coaching executives because they need to understand, okay, I'm created in God's image. I'm also unique and I have giftings that potentially, Steve down the road doesn't have. Maybe I'm more oriented to empathy and understanding how people feel. And so I'm going to lead with humanity and people, or I'm a CFO that's super green, which is the 4 lenses personality assessment. And I'm going to actually lead with pragmatic decision-making, more rooted in facts and data and questioning. Both are okay. And people are different, but all of it's rooted in our creation and our identity in light of who God is, what Christ accomplished, and living out that freedom in real time.
I love that, man. I think that's so clearly stated. So you've got this calling, this unrest, and you say, hey, I'm going to give up. And we live in Colorado Springs, a big military community, and I hear that a lot. Hey, man, I got 3 more years. I got 3 more years, then I can do what I want to do in life. And I've pushed people a lot on that to say, man, that's a long time. I get it's a big financial thing. It is a stability factor. You earned it. You spent a lot of time deferring gratification to be in there. But I always push a little bit to say, well, like, is that what you should be doing? But so walk us through that a little bit, even with how you thought through it with your wife.
Yeah, I mean, life is precious. And I think, I'm approaching 40 very, very soon. And so I think you start to realize, that the days go slow, but the years go extremely fast. 3 young kids, 5 years left. That's a lot of time. But also that feeling like I was built for something, I was created for something. And I've always been a tinkerer. So I like to say, oh, it's good, but it's not great, not to throw book names out there. But, I always try to push it to what is the level of greatness? What is attention to detail and excellence in everything we do? And I know it's a motto of the Air Force. And, there's so much about the military and the Air Force I'm thankful for. But I felt like the impact that I was designed for was really significant. And I didn't quite know what that was. And that sounds kind of pompous to some people, and I get that. But it's something innate in the core that I felt and I knew. And I knew I was supposed to step out in faith. And I read about this all the time. Not to dwell on this point the whole time, but you read through Hebrews 12 and you look at these examples of faith, right? Like you look at Abraham. Well, what did faith tangibly look like for Abraham? It looked like, I need to make a sacrifice. I don't know what the sacrifice is, So I'm now going to step by step go up a mountain with my son because I believe he is right. I know the calling is true. And so now I'm going to execute every single step. And I think it's a great metaphor for us as followers. It's like when he says be faithful, that doesn't mean, oh, today you're going to make a podcast with Chris. Like, that's not it. It's you take the next step, knowing that he is good and worthy of those steps. And then when you get there, you may not even know the end state yet. But everything comes to an end point that is revealed. And guess what? He's always good. And he's always right. And he is the loving Father that has already planned it all out. And we don't need to know what the end state is. We just have to be faithful with the next step.
I love it. So, okay, so let's camp on that a little bit and we'll talk like if you're a believer or non-believer. So you're a believer, there's this tension between being excellent in stewardship, right, of your time, of your family, of the things that God has given you, but also allowing room for God to act. As a non-believer, we'd probably put it as what are the controllables and what are the uncontrollables, right? So like, hey, there are things that you can control, but much of business, much of life is uncontrollable, even though we think. How do you see that tension? Because I think that's been a struggle for me my whole life of either running really hard, doing all the things, saying I can control it, I can build this thing, we can grow these businesses, and then getting knocked on my butt, which happened this week where I'm like, whoa, yeah, I have no control. Sorry, God, I know that, and and I trust you, and I'm here with you. So tell me a little bit about how you manage that, or even how you chat with other executives or folks in the business.
Yeah, it's an important question. So I think coming out of the military and seeing this opportunity, which going back to the question previously to answer that question. So as a healthcare executive, and that's my background with my master's degrees and certifications, so I'm keenly aware of the system, right? And it's a big system. It's, second to salary. It's the highest line item for an expense for an executive in any organization. And so if we know healthcare is broken, if we can accept that as kind of a baseline starting point, which, few would argue that. I think almost everybody in America is like, it could be better. When we looked at that, and by we, I mean my co-founder and our company CEO, when we look at that problem, how do you get to something that can really turn the tides just a small amount? Because it's a huge ship, and we're not trying to change it 90 degrees. That's impossible. You try to just make these incremental changes. When you ask the 5 whys and you really get to the root cause, it actually becomes these small subset of medications that could programmatically change the way healthcare is offered. And it turns out there's all sorts of stuff in that space, manipulation, borderline fraud, all sorts of stuff that we'll talk about. But what I looked at from a secular point of view is, can I make an impact, right? Not can I change the industry, not can I become the billion-dollar behemoth, but can I have an impact? Can I bring value? And I knew that was a possibility given my background, my expertise. And I know we'll talk about some mentorship stuff for young entrepreneurs, but I knew deep inside I could make a mark in this industry because it's who I was, where I come from, what I've done, but also because the market was primed for an impact. And we're seeing that play out in real time. 2026 is going to be a huge year for our organization. But that's what I would say to those that, don't know Christ or don't believe in Christ. There's a pragmatic element to this. God is a God of order. And so you don't have to say, oh, I'm not a follower, this doesn't apply. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Because there are facts that you can look at and see, oh, I can carve out this small percentage, and that small percentage can add up pretty quick.
Yeah, I think the language that we've used in our business is there is an architecture to business, to life, to how things work and don't work, to science. The only thing a lot of times we disagree on is the architect. People that are not believers that are operating in the marketplace know, like, hey, treating people correctly, creating processes, taking care of your people, those are good things. And they don't understand, well, a lot of that is based in the Bible and biblical principles, and it was created by the architect that we believe in. And you still get utility if you're using the architecture correctly, you're still getting utility with it. even if you don't believe in the architect. Now, I think you'll get a lot more peace, joy, love, a lot of additional things by knowing and having a relationship with the architect. But I love that. So tell us more. So Limitless, you exit and you see a problem in the marketplace, which is most entrepreneurs. Hey, I think I can solve this, or at least have some impact here using my skill set, seeing the opportunity. Tell us what that problem is and how you guys are taking it on.
Yeah, so, the commercial insurance market for employers is one of the largest subsets of insurance coverage for Americans. And when you look at a typical insurance plan, 20 to 30% of it is pharmaceuticals, so a huge chunk of it. That industry is really driving the why behind the what. And so we knew pragmatically, and for various things that we could dive into another time, that if we could impact that in a small way, the downstream effects of that could be really, really significant. Mm-hmm. And so what we focus on is a very small subset of medications. Specialty medications are high cost. It really ranges from about 1 to 8% of volume of medications for a health plan, but has 50 to 80% impact on cost. So
what's that pie for that 1 to 8%? Like how many dollars generally?
Yeah, the historical average for our firm is about $1.5 million for every 1,000 employees that they have.
Gotcha.
So, the analogy that we like to use is a lot of employers are going to a pump that charges $8 a gallon for gas. And that's for various reasons, right? So it's the largest lobbyist industry in the United States. So they're being told it's the safe option. It's the common option. I'm a large employer. I don't want to take a risk. By the way, Cigna just had a breach and is being sued. Leave that there. But you're paying $8 a gallon for gas. Mm-hmm. We found a legal, safe way to get the exact same gas for $2 a gallon. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the question. And we could talk about sales and all sorts of stuff for your audience that are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. Tons of lessons to learn there. But the reality is when you've got an $8 a gallon or a $2 a gallon option, the choice is super easy. The question is, can I show that to you clearly in a way that people understand?
I love that. And so what are some of the downstream effects of this that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest impact is the human factor. So you have a lot of Americans right now that are bleeding money. A lot of these folks that are on high-cost specialty medications, they're hitting their out-of-pocket max every year. We're talking thousands of dollars a year for a teacher that's getting paid $45,000 a year, or a janitor or a custodian. They're hitting their out-of-pocket, and now they're deciding, hey, do I buy groceries this month, or do I pare it down so that I can get this medication? And what we're seeing is, and the data bears out, by the way, so a large majority of Americans don't actually take their medications because of cost. And so when we come in, we say, hey, we're going to pay your copay and deductibles for you because the cost savings are so high. And in doing so, you have these employees that are in tears, and HR directors and leaders are like, yeah, this is amazing. And CFOs are like, the numbers look great. It's that whole like gifting thing that we talked about earlier.
High fives.
Yeah. Thanks for the money. And HR directors like crying. It's great. But that's the human factor that gets us excited at Limitless, because when you're setting people free from the bondage of the cost of medications, you could truly start living and then actually doing what the physicians are calling you to do. I think we've gotten in this cyclical system of, oh, I'm sick, therefore I need medications. If we can solve the cost problem, then we can truly get at behavior modification and downstream long-term impacts in healthcare.
I love that, man. And I think everybody, like you said, everybody knows the system's broken. I've got 3 doctors in my family, and all of them are like, man, we don't even know where to go with all of the pieces, right? Like we've got private equity buying up all these practices, smashing them together, doing a terrible job. We've got the healthcare costs, we've got the pharmaceutical costs, and everybody knows we're getting screwed, but it's such a complex problem. They're like, well, where do I start? And I'm excited that folks like you are digging into it, because we see it across every marketplace. I mean, you and I have talked about politics. Our political system is broken, but we still have to operate within it to some degree to try to affect a better system in the next 15, 20 years. Same thing with education. I think our education system is garbage, and most people would agree with that. And government is, I'm a free market capitalist, so I believe, people created in the image of God will find the most efficient, effective way and the freest way to do whatever they want to do in the marketplace. And we've abdicated a lot of those freedoms to government. And we did, right? We voted for legislation. We voted for people that push legislation. And now we've got to come back and say, hey, no, actually, that's not working for us. We want to change some things. I love it, man. So tell us a little bit just about kind of your guys' view of the growth of the business and, next couple years, how you guys not only just like, hey, this is what we do in the marketplace, but how we see stewarding Limitless really well as a company.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about a lot of different things that we're working on. We've got the Economic Development Council and Chamber model that really was proof of concept with Colorado Springs. So a couple months ago, we were named the #1 health benefits firm for Colorado Springs EDC. We've launched with 3 other EDCs throughout the country, and we're excited about that vertical because I think it's a really, when you talk about something as personal and intimate as pharmaceuticals, it's a local conversation, right? I want to talk to Bob down the street. I don't know you. You're a consultant. You wear a blazer, maybe a tie, depending on the day, right? I don't know you. And so I think having that conversation through a chamber is worthwhile because you have somebody that vets, somebody that understands the nitnoid details, and then they reach out to their communities. And so I love the idea, just intellectually and deep inside of me as well, that we're serving communities through the communities. That's super cool to me. So we're excited about that. We've got some huge national accounts that we're looking at coming up here in Q2. So yeah, we're excited about the prospect and a growing team, and it's a lot of fun. Some challenges and trying to figure stuff out on the fly, but it's good problems to have.
I love it, man. How do you view? So stewardship is like a really difficult concept, I think, and everyone has a different view of it. But how do you see stewardship of the business? What are some thoughts, and they could be future thoughts, but just how you want to impact your local community? And we always kind of use the framework, time, talents, and treasures. What's a framework you could give to entrepreneurs that you think is, hey, if you want to have biblical impact through the marketplace in a business, these are some things that we think will work or we've used that have worked?
Yeah, well, first of all, stewardship is a really important word to us at Limitless. So Limitless owns the term Pharmacy Stewardship Program. The PSP is actually the framework that we use to approach clients. It's a network of partners that we use to help go in, audit, do a competitive bid for their pharmacy plan, and do what we call personal importation for certain medications and bring that to bear. Stewardship's a huge word. I think in a nutshell, in a general sense, the way we view stewardship within Limitless is exactly how you outlined it. Are you using your talents, your treasures, and your time to glorify God, to bring the best that you possibly can to bear? And, that depends on the role, right? Some people we actually have that aren't full-time. That's fine. When you're focused on Limitless, are you giving your best? And I think when you have resources, which are always, or I should say usually, for the most part, finite, how are you allocating those in the best way possible to achieve your mission, vision, and values? And for us, ironically, we steward so that we can steward because we are helping our clients to steward their pharmaceutical plans, to steward their dollars and cents, and try to get them back on average 1.5% to their bottom line. And that's our end game, is we steward ourselves so that we can steward our clients.
I love it, man. How'd you weave your faith and business faith and impact into business? And did you have some good mentors along the way that gave you some good frameworks or books or strategies? Because I love this space. And I was talking with a young entrepreneur yesterday, and I said, hey, the way I see life is there aren't silos. Like how I run my life and my marriage and my kids and the business, it's all a stewardship concept. But I think people struggle with that. And they kind of, some folks may say like, well, business is business and it's cutthroat. And so like when I go to work, I do things maybe differently than what I would say I do in my Bible study. How have you thought about that?
Well, it is cutthroat. Let's not pull punches on that. Business is cutthroat. But I think there's a way to walk that out well and not have to change yourself. It's just how you protect yourself on the back end. It's a good conversation. I would say, my calling in life, and I'm in a little bit of a unique position because my story lends itself to who I am and where I'm at in this position as president and co-founder of Limitless. So, there's literally no distinction between who I am as a follower of Christ and what we're doing as an organization. Mm-hmm. There's some things that we do that are clear signs that, oh, wow, this is a legitimate follower of Christ. So the company tithes 10% of revenue right off the top. We don't touch anything until that money is gone to organizations that are advancing the gospel nationally, feeding the hungry, caring for the widows. Go figure, we stole that straight out of the Bible. So
I love it.
There are signs certainly that a Christian might say yes. But just for me, it's as a follower, who I am as a man plays itself out in leadership and growth and mentorship. So our employees will feel it from me. I don't think of myself higher than I ought to be. I know what I bring to the table. I know what we're stewarding. It's not ours. It was given to us. And so all these things play out to how it feels to a client. So they're gonna hear from me. I'm not gonna try to pitch you. Do I know the psychology of sales and how to say certain things? Yes. Do we need to? No. And I would actually err to say, I don't think we do. I think we just offer the data and we allow people to make sense of what the data says. And that's the beauty when you have been handed something, you're holding on to a mantle that you're called to and you're handed. Because when you have the moral high ground, when you're actually operating from the side of right, and we could get into all the manipulation, the corruption that's existing in the pharmaceutical industry, when you stand on this side, I have nothing to hide. Mm-hmm. You could look at everything. You could look at every piece of data. You could look at every piece of analysis. There's beauty in that. And I'm calling for bringing it into the light. When the opposition is saying, we can't provide that, it's proprietary. You just look at that. You're like, well, one's trying to bring it in the light, the other's trying to hide it. I don't know what to do with that. You should probably take a look at the one that's trying to bring stuff into the light because they're usually trying to expose something that's existing, real, and tangible.
Yeah, I love that. And it's really similar to our approach. And my team's funny. So on our A&D advisory company, we're very systematic, right? So every piece of it has a process. But when we go to have an entry conversation with a potential client, they're like, why don't you ever bring the pitch deck in there? And I'm like, because all we need to do is understand their story. And when they tell me their story and their pain points, then we can say, hey, this is a fit. And here's some of the things that we believe we could do to solve your pain points. Or we can say, this is not a fit for us. Here's another great advisor that would be a good fit for you. But I don't go in with any preconceived notions of trying to slot people into, here's our 3 service offerings. And if we go back to salesmanship in itself, and this is really biblically based, right? It's character based, it's integrity based. People buy from you because they trust you.
That's right.
And if you are trustworthy, and you do a good job and you have a high level of excellence, selling is not really selling, right? It's serving people well. I tell our team in our insurance business, I say, look, guys, when you're selling, you're going to fail. If you serve, right, service is selling. If you serve people really well, the sales are going to happen. The revenue is going to happen. We just need to get so focused on our client and serving them well. But that approach matters. And like you said, if somebody says, hey, well, here's your competitor, here are you, then we're like, well, here's our process. Here's exactly how we do it. Here's why we think we create a lot more value. Ask them how they do it. And if you think they're a better fit, great. But 9 times out of 10, that person's going to say, well, it's very complicated and it's very nuanced. And I've been in this business so long, I can't explain it to you. And it's like, well, either there's something they're hiding or they actually aren't that good at their job, because our job as advisors is to take really complicated, complex things and make it very simple, super simple.
Yeah.
A question that we love to ask our potential clients is, do you know what your business is worth? And if you sold your business today, would it fulfill your personal and financial goals? If you're a successful business owner, but you don't know when or how to sell your business, and if you've ever wondered what each additional day in your business is actually costing you, we'd love to chat. If you're ready to spend more time with your family, your friends, or traveling, come sit down with our team, because when you work with exceptional business advisors, we'll help you build a blueprint to sell your business successfully and help you create, capture, and achieve your dream life. Don't wait for the right time. The time's now. Go ahead and scan the QR code or book a discovery appointment at excoadvisors.com.
Okay, I want to change gears, because I usually try to keep this around 45 minutes or so, and we've got a lot to cover. But one thing that you and I are very forthright about is we need to do some things different politically, especially in Colorado. Our state is failing on all areas. And I use the framework of humans flourishing. Humans are not flourishing more than they were 10 years ago in Colorado, and that's a problem. Yeah. But why are healthcare and politics so intertwined? And tell us a little bit about maybe some of the things that could be positive lights in that space that you guys are working on.
Yeah, it's an important question. I think to base this particular question, the pharma lobbyist is the largest lobbyist industry in the United States, in by a lot, almost double. And so when you look at that statistic, you have to ask the question, why? What are the lobbyists doing? And when you kind of unpack that, you realize there are really two main areas that lends itself to. And they're both intertwined. The first is legislative, and the second is information. And so we in the military, we use DIME, right? Democratic Information, Military, Economic, as forms of warfare. Information is an important one because what I can make you believe to be true changes the landscape, changes the battlefield, right? And so what we have found working with legislators in various states and federally with Health and Human Services and Secretary Kennedy's team is that we have to, one, make the legislative landscape equitable, but then two, unravel this false narrative that has been pushed for a long time. And why has it been pushed? To preserve margins, to preserve market share. And that's a problem. That's a problem. And I'm like you, Chris. I'm a free market guy by nature. And so if we can get government out of the way, that's great. And so then you would say, well, why are you pushing legislation? Good question. So what we are pushing, particularly you mentioned Colorado, is we're basically giving some of our secret sauce away as a company because employers have rights. If you're a self-funded employer, you have rights. It's your data. If I check out at a grocery store and I pay $4 for a box of cereal, I deserve to know I paid $4. I'm not going to take the cereal and then they're not going to give me a receipt and I'm going to say, how much did I pay for the cereal? They're just say, oh, that's proprietary. No, it's not. It's my money. I'm paying for it. That's what we're talking about in pharmaceutical space. It's that simple. It's the most basic form of information and data so that a CFO of a large firm, as the fiduciary under ERISA, can make an informed decision about their plan. If they don't have that data, that's a problem. So a lot of what we do with these organizations is we come in and we just empower them with what their rights are, legally, what their rights are. That has been confused because of the information that they have received from the pharmaceutical industry. So one, we educate them, but two, we're putting it into law. Here is what your rights are as an employer. Here's what you have access to, literally line by line in terms of data. And then here's what you can do with that data. So we're taking what we do as a firm for employers and we're trying to put it in legislation to get the word out to employers that you don't have to sit in the dark. You do deserve to know how much you're paying, especially if you're self-funded. You deserve to know how much you're paying and what your options are under law with compliance as the owner of your risk for your employees.
I love that, man. What's a story maybe from last year that you want to share? Could be, hey, here's how bad it is, or it could be just a win that you guys, you shared some tears and different things, but like, what's a story that you're like, this really exemplifies what we're trying to achieve?
I think our most recent client, Wyoming Machinery Group, they're a regional cat distributor for the central region for Caterpillar. They're a great example of this. And truthfully, they're not a huge organization. They're about 670 employees. We were optimistic, but what we actually found under the hood was really, really significant. You've got certain individuals that are taking high-cost medications, and every month, that single individual is lending itself to $100,000 in operational expenses for the organization. So that is a day one fix, gone. It's taken care of. So huge impact. And we are excited about them as a client because they're looking at about $3 million for 2026, a 13.421 ROI, which is staggering, unlike anything we had seen thus far. But the human story is extremely significant. Those people on those medications that are making really, really hard decisions about whether to take the medication or to live the life that they want to live or need to live or provide for the family, we can make that decision, that calculation in their mind very easy. This is now gone. This is now taken care of. In some cases, $15,000 a year in prescription costs gone. Now go do what you want to do with that money. It's yours. It's back in your pocket. Do what you want to do. To me, that, we could talk dollars and cents all day. We could talk ROI. We could talk about historical averages and industry benchmarks and all that stuff. To me, the human story is as compelling, if not more compelling, because we're setting people free from the bondage of the finances in the pharmaceutical space.
I love it, man. All right. So a lot of our viewers and listeners are entrepreneurs. A lot of them are younger folks. As you think about your journey and, military, a lot of structure, a lot of great leadership, a lot of great coaching, and then going into entrepreneurship, what are some bad mental models or advice you got? And the reason I bring this up is I have become more and more burdened with how much, and I'm not on social media much, but if I go on to buy truck tires on Facebook, right, and something comes up of some influencer, the knowledge and the feedback that's there is usually really bad. It's really bad counsel. And I've got younger brothers that are kind of following different people. And I'm like, okay, a lot of the things that are out there are fallacies. It's bad advice that actually have have a negative impact on people and a true cost. What are some of the things that you heard along the way that are kind of accepted as fact that you're like, this is just not right?
To clarify, you're going onto the internet to look for truck tires. Are there social media influencers that discuss truck tires?
No, it's like you go on. This is how Facebook gets you. You go on a Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to buy some. This is a total tangent, but yeah, man, you could get some really good tires on Facebook. And then, as the scrolling happens, you see somebody talking about, for example, business acquisition or tax strategy or legal structuring. And even in 10 seconds, I'm like, nope, that's false. Nope, that's not correct. Nope. Anyways, so yeah, thanks for calling me out on that. I shouldn't have used that.
No, I love it. It's what a niche, right? The durability of this tire, 10 out of 10. It's like, I love it. To any tire people out there, good for you. I love it. I think actually the more specific that you can get in business, the better. It's actually why our firm is so hyper focused on international sourcing and personal importation for pharmaceuticals. It's so niche that we work with consultants. So an organization might hire a healthcare consultant. Well, healthcare consultants bring us in because we are the national experts in this space. There's value in that. And it's valuable if you know more information than anybody else on a very, very specific thing. So I'll leave that on the shelf there. I wouldn't necessarily say bad advice, but I think some misconceptions that I had going into business and some valuable advice that I had from various people along the way. One that comes to mind is Terry Looper. So he wrote the book Sacred Pace. Wonderful man, very successful entrepreneur, built an oil company to several $1 billion a year of revenue. His key proposal is to get neutral. To get neutral. And I think for people that are highly intellectual, that can think through all the facets of a deal and, this makes sense from a business perspective, that's great. What is happening inside of you about a particular person or the deal itself? What is, I'll use Christian language, so I'm not kind of pulling punches here. If you are a follower of Christ, you have the Holy Spirit. What is he saying? Like, what is he actually advising you of? Can you do that if you're distracted, if there's a lot of noise, if you have 3 kids running around, or are you getting up at 3 a.m. to spend time with him in quiet and listen? If you're not a Christian and you're secular, are you letting the emotions of a deal, of a killer sale, whatever, are you letting that cloud what might otherwise not be a wise business decision or best for your constituents? Are you giving yourself space to consider all those pieces? I think that's probably the best piece of advice I've gotten, especially in the season that we're in right now, as it's getting busier and we do have a lot of constituents and a lot of organizations we're talking to. The second piece of information that I would say was most beneficial is nobody's coming to save you, especially if you are an entrepreneur that's just starting out. And that's huge for entrepreneurs to understand, because I think there's this weird notion that, I know as the business owner, there's value. I know what I've created. I've put the time and effort and energy, and I've done the calls. I've sent the messages. Nobody cares. We're just like in love. Brothers and sisters out there, good for you. You put the time in, you put the effort in, you built the thing, you did the relationships. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that's such an important lesson for them to learn, because nobody's coming to save you. There are people that care about you, but the thing, the widget that you have created, you have to go show the value. And that's not always a cut and dry process. Like random things happen, and sometimes it's luck, and certain circumstances change, and it's you persevere, you push through, and you freaking make it happen. Like that's the journey of an entrepreneur.
I agree. And I've been really pushing our team hard in all of our businesses. I think there is this expectation of we deserve a certain quality of life. And if I don't have it, it's somebody else's fault that I don't have it. It's inflation's fault. It's the economy's fault. It's politicians' fault. And I gave that same counsel to my team on Monday for 2026. I said, look, guys, you want the same exact life as you had 2025, do the same exact things. Right. If you want to have better marriage, better relationship with your kids, better finances, you have to do something differently because the market does not care about you at all. That's it. No one is out there thinking about how do I create an exceptional life for Mike, except for Mike, right? And so, like, I appreciate that. And I think the entitledness, I had another guy who's kind of a digital architect here in town that I've been working on some technology stuff with. And he and I were just iterating. And he's like, we have to build this thing for these people. They need it. And I was like, hold on a second. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't have to build anything for them, and they haven't asked us for it. Until somebody comes to us with $100,000 and says, Chris, can you build this thing for me? That's when we know we need it. So assuming that if we build this product and throw it out in the marketplace that everyone's going to care and want to pay for it, I'm like, that's the wrong approach. Let's go figure out, okay, we know there's a need in the marketplace from our perspective, but the people may not even care about that. They're like, hey, we see the need, we don't want to pay for it, or it's just not enough of a priority. So I'm like, we shouldn't just throw out things, products, services, widgets, and then expect the marketplace rewards us. So I appreciate that, man, a lot. So as we tie up our conversation, I've got a couple questions I like to end with. And I'm just a positive guy, man. And I think if we're aligned with God, there is just so much joy and peace and hope. Even this week has been really, really hard for us in our businesses. But I'm just resting in the fact that God is good. This is going to be a great year. And this is just part of the struggle and part of the suck, and that's okay. But as you think about this year and young people and maybe people in the U.S. that are a little beat up, right? They're paying too much for healthcare. They're paying too much for property and casualty insurance. Groceries are expensive. And they're just like, man, I'm just like ready to give up. What's a word of advice or some wisdom or just some optimism you could share for them to really just say, hey, let's get you activated. Let's get you off the bench and get you moving?
Oh, man, it's such a critical question. I'm reminded of a Tony Robbins exercise. I like Tony Robbins. Some people don't. I'm a big fan. And he does an exercise where he has somebody sitting in front of him look around the room for 5-10 seconds and find everything that's brown. And, they do it, count. Yeah, found 15 things. And they rattle them off. And he's like, great. How many things did you see that were red? And the importance of perspective, I think, is often understated because external things happen all the time. My wife and I and our family has gone through a long period of what, if you're a follower of Christ, read the Bible, it's dry desert. If you're secular, just a tough season of life. We've been through it. But when you look for those things that are beautiful in nature, I love my wife. I love the smile of my children. It's actually why I started my podcast, which is on pause as I'm building our second company, by the way. But the podcast is good because, man, I love my daughter's smile. Man, I love a sunset. There are things that are just so beautiful in this life if we just give ourselves some space. Other stuff is going to happen. There's no stopping it. The U.S. might take down a leader in Venezuela. That might happen. You might have various feelings about it. But if you, at your core, are at a place of peace and rest, and then you operate out of that, the external doesn't matter nearly as much. And I think kind of second to that as an entrepreneur to tie it all together, when you operate out of that, people feel it. Chris, I felt that in you the second I met you. I knew it. I knew you had that inside of you. And I think we know people in Colorado, same thing. It's not about what they're doing. There could be people that are really struggling right now. I'm like, that dude is going to just freaking kill it in 26 or 27. And they're building to something that's significant, not because of the what. And there's certainly all those things, fit, passion, market assessment. We could talk about the structures. Way more important that they know who they are, they rest in that identity, and they're propelling themselves forward from that. Not tossed to and fro by the external stuff. That's way less important.
I love it, man. All right, let's close with this. What's a book, tool, resource, mental model, something that really was a game changer for you that you'd like to share? Yeah, let's start with that.
I think I'll offer two, if you'll permit me. Is that fair?
Go crazy, man. You can offer as many as you want.
When I talk to young people, when I mentor young people, I give them that framework that I actually just alluded to: fit, passion, and market. So number one, is your expertise, is your education, is your gifting all right for you to move into this space? Number two, do you care? Right? Does it get you up in the morning? Are you excited? I can wake up at 2:30, 3 a.m. and literally I have to tell myself I have to go work out, because if I don't, I'll go right to the computer because I just love what I do. I'm so excited about it. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have to have that. I'm telling you, it's long days, it's a grind. If you don't, it's going to be soul crushing. But the third is way more pragmatic to all the CFOs out there. They're super excited about this one. It's just the market assessment. Is there a need? Can you actually bring value to the space? Is it saturated? Is it a blue ocean strategy where there's no sharks swirling around? That's great. That's a huge home run. That's the framework I use for assessing new entrepreneurs in the space they're moving into. I'll go back to Sacred Pace as the external recommendation. Sacred Pace, for me, perfect for the moment that I was in. I needed to be intentional about creating space about big decisions. Who are we partnering with? Man, should I really reassess that partnership agreement? This client could pay us, $100,000 a year, but are they the right client for us? Is there a good cultural fit? Things that might seem to make sense just from a pragmatic, money standpoint. When I get neutral, when I take the time to pause, is it something that resonates with our culture and who I am by my identity as a human being that we all feel good about? And that's really the role of a leader of an organization and an entrepreneur.
I love it, man. Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show. And where can people find you if they watch this and they're like, man, he's awesome, I just need to connect with him? Or, hey, we need their services. Where can they find you?
Yeah, best place is our website. It's limitlessrxsolutions.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Tall Mike McLain. We didn't talk about it, but I'm 6'8". I know you know that, Chris. But tall.
You look
Mike
so
McLain.
Short on the podcast.
Tall Mike McLain is my handle on Facebook and LinkedIn. Also, I have a YouTube presence. It's kind of outdated at this point, but either are fine.
That's awesome, man. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on the show, and we will see you on down the road.
Thanks, brother. Pleasure being on.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Exceptional Companies Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you liked this show, please reach out through our website, www.excoadvisors.com, for free tools to order a copy of Selling Main Street, or to sign up for our free webinar on how to sell your Main Street business.